Well, she wrote a book called Protect Your Purse, and she's going to be taking part in the 10th Annual Women in Business Conference happening Thursday, March 8th, and that's taking place at the Ottawa Conference and Events Centre. A guest speaker and so much more. She's here right now. Doris Belland is with us. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
So this book, pretty impressive. You told me the story in the green room, and you've got quite the story. So do you want to start with the book then? When did the book come out?
I launched it in May. It came out, but I started writing it 5 years before. Okay. And that's after a very long process of learning. So the story that I shared with you was that I was married. I'm happily married now. I have 2 daughters. But my first husband had cancer, and he died when I was 32. And I was left with $400,000 worth of debt, a lot of business debt and other kinds of debt. And I had walked away from a fully funded PhD and was left with nothing. Basically, there was a business, dying business, and so overnight I became a widow and I owed $400,000. Okay,
so is this book then basically you're walking people through how to recuperate from something like that?
Yeah, so what happened, I wondered how it is that someone who is type A personality, well educated, you know, I was doing well, I was successful, how could this happen to someone like me? Is it just something unusual about my story, or does this happen to more women? So I started interviewing others, widows, divorcees, and it turns out there's a lot of commonality from my story and theirs. So I share some of their stories, I share my story, and I share how to protect yourself.
Okay. The conference is celebrating 10 years, so a decade, and you've been a part of this a number of times?
Yes, years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so what keeps you coming back?
It's an amazing conference. So imagine a room full of hundreds of smart, talented women who get together to connect, to learn how to improve their business, how to strengthen their finances, and how to take better care of themselves. It's something for the whole woman. It's personal, it's professional, and it's for all working women. So it's just an amazing conference, tremendous speakers, and it's a day you walk away inspired and wanting to take action.
And you're one of the tremendous speakers.
Oh, thank you.
When will you be speaking at the
conference?
I'm
speaking at 11 a.m.
Okay, so obviously you'll be talking about some of the practices that is found in this book?
Not that directly, it's other research. So I have since done, I've been studying women and money for years now. That's my primary goal. And last fall I did a research project. So I'm going to be talking about women and money, and in particular, where are women traditionally weaker financially. So I'll be looking at what the research has to say about that, both my own and what the data shows from literature, existing literature. And then I'll be offering some solutions of how do we plug up those weak spots.
Okay, so what are some of the typical setbacks that you've witnessed for women regarding finances?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things for women is all around confidence. So they tend to defer financial decision making to their spouses and partners. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they simply don't trust themselves or don't feel that they're capable of doing it. They're working under the mistaken assumption that their partners are going to do a better job. And what happens is that as a result of that, they don't develop that knowledge and they're left extremely vulnerable if something happens either to their partner or their partnership.
So what would you recommend then for women to avoid mistakes such as this?
Well, one of the first things that I say is very, very simple, is simply set up a date night with your partner to talk about money, because a lot of this is women feeling uncomfortable about asking questions. And that's what they say to me all the time. I feel stupid. I feel like everybody knows this and I don't, which is absolutely not true, by the way. So one of the things I say is to help ensure success, sit down with your partner once a month, get a babysitter for the kids if you have kids, so that you have the space and the privacy to sit down and talk about where are we? How are we doing? What do we have? What do we owe? A lot of women cannot tell you what their balance sheet looks like. So it's just a way for them to familiarize themselves and start to learn and say, particularly with investing that men typically do, sit down and say, what is it you're doing? What do we have? How does that work? And you start to learn in a safe environment. Plus you have a great bottle of wine with your spouse.
Yes, it's a date night.
It's a date night.
You never know what could happen. Okay, so
I only talk about the first 2 hours. It's up to you.
Okay. But I mean, sometimes you have to put pride aside as well, right?
Absolutely.
And even as a man, if your partner is making more money than you, sometimes you don't want to talk about it too much.
Yeah,
but it's important because it's going to avoid lots of other problems.
You know, finances in a marriage or a partnership, this is a team sport. So the more unified you are, the more disclosure there is, the more we put the cards on the table, set the ego aside and just say, we're here for the team. We're here to learn, to grow, and to strengthen our resources. And the benefit to that I keep saying to both women and men, but women in particular, particular, is that if you strengthen that foundation, it creates better options for your family, and that's what's going to protect you when life happens, as it so often does.
What are some of the financial struggles that are more targeted at women?
You've that's noticed? Easy. The single area where women are weakest, bar none, is investing. And that's the area where we've talked about confidence just a moment ago. That plays a huge role. The other area, well, when it comes to investing, women either don't invest because they're terrified of losing money. They just think, oh, this is too scary, I don't understand it, so I'm not going to do it, which means that they're not growing their futures. And it has huge implications, leaves them immensely vulnerable. Or they will invest in so-called safe investments, and many of these don't even match inflation, so the value of those is eroded over time. And interestingly, men and women have different approaches. I mean, nobody likes to lose money, but when men lose money, I mean, they grumble about it, but then they say, all right, now I have to go out and make that money back again. When women lose money, typically what happens, they think that's it, it's gone forever. So there's a scarcity mentality, and that is one of the biggest issues.
Well, that's very interesting stuff, and I'm sure that you are going to tackle all of these issues when you speak. So one more time, it's the 10th Annual Women in Business Conference, and Thursday, March 8th is when it's taking place. There's an admission to get in, I imagine.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
And I think there are a few tickets left. They were pretty close to being sold out, but I think there are a few tickets left, so I wouldn't wait. It's a tremendous event. I recommend it highly. Women in Business Conference.ca. Doris, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
The book one more time, Protect Your Purse. There you go. Pick it up today and find out how you can do just that.